Of course, we're being manipulated economically, financially, taxation, theft. We know all of that. But if it comes from this in a trauma response, I'm not good enough, you regress to an inner child and then blame everything outside. You blame daddy, mommy, government, and all of that instead of, hold on, taking responsibility and how can I heal that inner wound so I can step up more in my true self and take responsibility and really conscious action and really align with my creative self, with my higher self, and engage in really creative work as well, getting out of the consumer mindset. I don't mean consuming in terms of just buying stuff, but nowadays we're easily trapped in just consuming media, social medias, death scroll, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like, how can I participate more creatively? So that's, again, I mean, this ties into many, many other topics, but ultimately, as one of my teachers would said, and he made a profound statement, your ego identification, the false self in itself is a trauma response. So ultimately, the question is always, who am I? Know thyself. And it says in all the traditions and all the masters have told us, seek the kingdom of God within you first, and everything will be given to you. But we put the cart in front of the horse. We externalize everything. So in terms of trauma, again, that's the work. I've done this work for a long time. I'm in my early 50s. Stuff still comes up with me and my wife when I regress back to like a little 10-year-old that had a fit with his mom, and I need to have the humility to face that. And in terms of transcending it, like you asked, we need to be careful that we don't fall into spiritual bypassing, right? In the sense of, I see there's a lot happening too, like people overestimating the level of being. I mean, it's twofold. You can get stuck in the psychological work of always digging down the shadow in childhood and always in the past. Some people can get stuck there. Absolutely. We need to watch out not to do that, right? Hence, you need to combine it with the spiritual work to really have a spiritual practice to what's your relationship to God, the divine, right? Is there religious programming like dogmatic Christianity and all of that stuff that externalizes God and see God as this punishing or rewarding almost human being, almost projecting human qualities in the God? What's your relationship to higher powers, to the divine, to your true self, and all of that, and what's your intention in that? And then combine that with the inner psychological, especially somatic work. So not falling into the trap, as I've done that as well, to intellectualize the work. That's another trap. You can be intellectually aware of all your childhood stuff, but your body's still holding it. So there needs to be somatic approach of really allowing yourself to feel all feelings. And the more we do that, especially in a child, we become more whole, we bring forth the true self, we react more consciously, we have way more power in the world. And that's how we truly change the world, according to the universal or divine law, as within, so without, right? So really become the changer. I've seen the profound effects within myself as well. And then we become more vessels vessels for divine forces, for divine will acting through us in our unique way, right? Because we all have something specific we can here to do. So the more we do that, we become more powerful forces for change. The more we act from our true self. But the healing journey is within. And it's sometimes what I realize is not too much that it's all gone. I think we have truly transcended all trauma, wounds, all of that when we are enlightened, right? Which I would never claim to be awake in the true meaning of the word. Until then, it's also becoming where really the key point, what I feel a lot of people are missing nowadays, is the ability to observe yourself, right? That's the foundation. That's really the necessity to start off any inner self work, to really catch yourself, the emotions as they arise, to allow yourself to feel them, the thoughts, before acting on them, right? Be curious where it comes from, because sometimes that comes from a part of yourself that is very young, that is conditioned, that is wounded, is not your true self, and it just mechanically reacts, right? Or we project, that shadow projection, our frustration, unconscious pain onto others as well, right? We can do that as well. But even I think it's inevitable, or it's not inevitable, but imperative for any truth seeker to do the inner work. So you can be more discerning truly, because discernment is, yes, needs to be critical thinking, logical fallacies, all of that level discernment, but that's limited, right? Even the idea, I'm sure you heard about that. You hear this a lot, maybe more in New Age circles. Take what resonates and leave the rest, right? You've heard about that. which there's truth in that saying. We can resonate with certain information from our true self, but that can also be abused because the resonance can be resonating with our false self, with our traumatized parts, with our projections, wishful thinking. So we can resonate with lies, mistaking it for truth, right? Or we can resonate with wishful thinking and it's actually not the truth or truth and all of that. So the inner work, working through our traumas, shadows, aspects, and all of that, the childhood wounding, will help our discernment with what's going on in the world. As we become more nuanced, it will help us to perceive other realities more, because the more you connect it to your true self and essence, you will also activate, as I call it, your inner technology, the dormant spiritual organs, as Rudolf Steiner would talk about, to perceive forces, right, that are interacting from other realms, as it's called in esotericism, to see the unseen. So that's really the way, quote unquote, out of the matrix, and how to truly transcend it is to engage in this greater work. And transcending trauma, in my view, means to really living from your true self, your true essence.